In today's video, I want to talk about my hunt for the perfect EDC grips on my current carry gun, which is a Colt Anaconda. I'm not going to mess with this gun too much. It is loaded, but I did want to show it in its current weight before I mess with it too much. Get a weight here. And it weighs 63.2 ounces. Pretty heavy package. I'll get into why I like the large 44 Magnums in a little bit, but for right now I'm going to get this gun unloaded and show how I carry this gun. As you can see here, I keep the rounds alternating. I used to just carry it where it was 2 rounds jacketed hollow points, and the rest of the 4 were hard cast. These are 340 grain plus P plus loaded by Underwood, and then the other rounds here are the double tap 300 grain controlled expanders, I think is what these are called. I have the boxes right here. I'll show it in just a second, but I do want to get this gun unloaded. The reason I have it alternating like this is just don't know what I'll encounter. I do have bears where I live. They usually run away if I just yell at them, so that's not a huge worry, but I do like to have these just in case. And then also auto bodies and glass and stuff like that from vehicles. I used to be a delivery driver, and I've had a couple encounters with people try to run me down, so I like to keep something that will get through windshields very easily. Not that these jacketed hollow points wouldn't, but I like having the hard cast for that. Get these out of the way. And here's the gun right here. This is a 4 1/4 inch Colt Anaconda, all stainless steel gun. I did replace the sights on this gun. These are the Wilson Combats, at least the rear side is. I did try the Wilson Combat front sight as well, but it was actually too low. So I did transition to this Harrison design, I believe is what it was called. So a little bit taller front sight. And this is now, it hits just about perfect. I still have to bottom out the rear sight, which I'm not too happy about. I would have liked to have a little bit more variation in that, but it is what it is. I have had a little bit of problems with this gun as well. One of those being the hand here, or I guess in Colt's case they call it the pawl, would actually stick. I've actually gone through, you can actually see it's polished on the sides here, and I actually went through and I polished this out, because before, if you were to have the hammer cock back, you could actually pull the cylinder release latch back, and the hand would actually, the pawl would actually follow it. There was so much resistance. It was so tight in the channel here. So I had to polish that out. And the reason I had to do that is actually under recoil, when the gun would recoil back, the cylinder latch actually pops back a little bit under recoil, especially the heavy plus P plus stuff. And it would actually come back and it would pull the hand out. And I actually have a little video, actually, if I remember, I'll roll it in here, that the cylinder actually came out just a little bit. And when I tried to fire my next round, I looked at the gun, I turned it, and the gun fell back into, I was going to call it battery, but the cylinder actually fell back in the gun and actually locked in. So I went in and I polished that out. I also took the spring out for the cylinder release here, and I actually stretched that string out a little bit to get a little more resistance on this, which it has helped. It has a lot more resistance on it now. If anybody knows where I can get an extra power one of those, I will definitely prefer to buy that than stretching a spring, but it does work. Other than that, it's pretty good. I will say this gun has one of the worst single actions, and it's kind of surprising because it's so smooth to cock back. The single action on this gun, we'll double check it is unloaded. Of course, we just unloaded it, but the single action on this gun is just, it's not very good. I mean, it's probably 8 or 9 pounds for a single action. It's pretty bad. The double action, on the other hand, it is smooth. When you try to stage it and get it around, that pull through, because you're kind of, with a Colt, you've locked the cylinder into place for that final bit of travel. I don't really like that. I kind of prefer Smith & Wesson when it comes to that, but it is what it is. It's just something to get used to, but it is fairly smooth. The grips I have on it, I just got these in the other day. These are made by Altamont. They're Target grips. They're made of G10. I got the green and black with the Colt logo. You can actually get the metal medallion in them as well. You have different textures. They have this kind of like ribbing texture here on the back. I did go with that. I think it looks all right. It's okay. I will say for these grips, they are huge. These things are freaking huge in the hand, and I have extra large hands. I have to wear XL mechanics gloves, but yeah, it is what it is. These are still the best grips I've gotten so far. I will be modifying these a little bit more. I did radius these corners right here. It was very blocky under there, so when you held up and you try to get a higher grip, it wasn't super comfortable. So I have radiused these corners, and I have beveled back here a little bit. These were sharp corners as well. I will today, I'll probably be radiusing these corners here for carry, because it does print pretty badly, almost like a semi-automatic. But if I radius these corners, I think it'll do a little better. And I might remove this bottom finger groove here. I'm not the biggest fan of these finger grooves, so I'm not 100% sure if I want to do that yet, because it is pretty comfortable now. But we'll decide. I'm going to show real quick other grips that I have tried for this gun, which are quite a few. Of course, the gun came with Hogue rubber grips with the finger grooves. I usually like those grips. On the Colt, I did not. The placement of the little palm swell hit me right in the hand in a spot that just wasn't comfortable, especially under recoil. So those had to go. I then bought the factory wood grips here. These are laminate wood grips. It's actually made by Altamont as well. I think on a normal Python, these would be just about perfect. On this gun, they're just a little too thin, a little too slick in the hand. So then I tried the good old Packmeyers here. These are solid rubber grips. They do have a steel plate in the inside of them, but they're basically solid rubber. They've got some good give to them. These control recoil really well. They really soak up recoil. These are probably my favorite still. And then I did try these Altamont boot grips. As you can see, they're quite small. They look a little comical on the size of the Anaconda. But I fixed that a little bit because I removed a lot of material. When you would hold these before, all this was filled in with material. I radiused a lot of that out, made it pretty nice. I checkered the front here a little bit, and then I cut these finger groove notches, kind of like they would do on old single action Colt Peacemakers and stuff. They do this like finger cut here, and it makes a really comfortable grip. They're still a little too small for this huge Anaconda, but these were my best option. And of course, shortly after I bought these, Altamont introduced these, the full target grips, which these are much more suited for this very large pistol. Now, I have gone back and forth on caliber for a while now. Before I carried this gun, I actually carried a CZ Shadow 2 full size here. Really like this gun. I'm not a big fan of 9mm, so I actually had a custom barrel made for this gun from Cajun Gun Works. It says 9x19, but actually they've engraved underneath it 9x23. I actually sent them unloaded casings with the bullet in them for the 960 Roland ammunition. The parent case for that is the 9x23 Winchester Magnum, which is a really underrated cartridge. But I put this gun together, and it's been a really nice gun. But I did still want something. I had the itch for a larger caliber gun, so I went with the 44. One of the issues I had with this as well is I wanted the 147 grain hard cast penetrating ammo that Double Tap made, or not Double Tap, that the 960 Roland company made, 460 Roland, and unfortunately that ammo was just completely unsafe. Within my first 5 rounds, I had 2 primers blow out completely out of their casings, so I do not recommend that. So I bought the jacketed hollow points. These are 115 grain, and these have functioned flawlessly in this gun. I don't see any overpressure signs with this, and it's done really well. I'll make a separate video on this gun at some point. This gun I carried for over a year. I've got the VZ palm swell grips on it, but I really liked this gun. But I did want a larger caliber. I did want the 44 Magnum back. This is one of the calibers I carried for a really long time, so I was happy to get this back. Some of the ammo that I've tried out in this gun, here was the box here for the Underwood 340 grain plus B plus ammunition. I've fired this in a few other guns. and none of them has handled it quite as well as the Anaconda. I think just because of its size and weight. It's been a really nice ammo. I'm going to try this out soon. I just got this in. This is the Grizzly brand Plus P Plus 355 grain. I did not know these went this, the grain weight went this high. There's some of the stats here on the box. Velocity 1350 feet per second. We're not going to get that out of this 4-inch gun, especially with the Anacondas or any of the Colts for that matter. They actually, towards the end of the barrel, the rifling actually tapers down a little bit. I think like 10,000ths of an inch or something like that. From what I've been told, the velocities get a little bit slower on the Colts. But the muzzle energy is 1,436 foot-pounds of energy. That's pretty impressive. Again, that's probably out of a 7 or 8-inch gun. We won't get that out of this, but I will chronograph this at a later date. Here is the box for the double tap 300 grain controlled expansion. That's what these are called. Again, I don't think we're going to get anywhere near the 1325 velocity on these, but who knows? We'll try them out at some point. I also do really like, some people say for social work in town, because these are pretty light for a 44 Magnum. This is the solid copper handgun Hunter. I don't know why they call this Hunter, because it's honestly more of a good defensive round, from Hornady. 200 grain monoflex bullet. These are really nice. They're quite soft shooting. I've tried these are kind of just target ammo for me. These are the Colt 240 grain hard cast rounds. These are quite light. Actually, I think these are a little softer shoot than even the Hornadys. So I'd like to put a chronograph on these. We'll see how fast these go at some point. But for now, we're going to get the grips off this gun. Actually, while it's unloaded, I might as well weigh it in and out of the holster here. 56.9. That's actually quite a bit lighter with just the ammo gone. Or, there we go, 57. Out of the holster. Scratch it up. 52 ounces with these grips. Get these off. Hold the back side of these grips because they won't fall off. Weight on those grips, 7.3 ounces. I thought they were 8 ounces, but they're 7.3 ounces. And a weight comparison, here's the wooden grips. I'm sure these are lighter. Yeah, quite a bit lighter. Those are 4.2 ounces. The rubber Packmeyer grips, 5.9. Those are actually a little heavier than I thought they'd be. Here's the small Altamont G10 grips. Good grips, 4.6. Is that the same weight? Oh, the wood grips are actually still lighter. Kind of not surprising. G10 is a very heavy material. 7.4. Those are very heavy grips. They definitely feel the weight of a small 380. These are very heavy grips. So we're going to get these on the grinder. I'm going to get these radiuses cut. Like I said, I might remove this bottom finger groove. I'll see how I feel, but let's get started on that. That looks pretty good. And the best part about working with G10, all you need is a little oil on it. Basically good as new. And we'll get these back on the gun. Yeah, that'll help a little bit with printing. Didn't go very far with it, but I think that'll work good. Yep, I think these will do nicely. Thanks for watching my video.